I love the colorful clothes she wears and the way the sunlight plays upon her head.
Having determined how sensitive your film or sensor will be to the light that hits it, you then determine how long the sensor will be exposed to the light. This you do by controlling the shutter speed.
The shutter is simply a door that opens and then closes, and its speed determines how long it stays open.
Leave it open for a long time, say 1/2 of a second, and a lot of light is hitting the sensor. Leave it open for a short time, say 1/250th of a second, and much less light is hitting the sensor.
Note that shutter speed numbers simply use the denominator in the fraction of a second they reference. 1/2 of a second will simply be 2, while if your camera is set to 1/250th of a second shutter speed, you would simply say, my shutter is at 250. Yep, there we go. This is fairly simple to understand if we're talking about taking still photographs. But how does this correspond to moving images?
If we look at a film strip, we see that moving pictures are made by capturing a series of still photographs and scrolling them through a projector to create the illusion of movement.
She's giving me the excitations.
At After Image Documentary, we use our DSLR cameras to create what is known as the film look, or the visual look that most resembles film when shot on celluloid strips.
One element of film look is the natural blur captured in any movement.
Film captures movement the same way our eyes see movement, with a slight blur.
As discussed in the settings video, we set our frames per second at 24, which means we will choose the shutter whose denominator is closest to double this, which is 50.
For the most part, we want to set our FPS at 24 and then set our shutter at 50 and leave them there through the duration of filming.
Besides affecting exposure, shutter speed also affects how sharp or how blurry a moving object is in your footage.
The longer the shutter is open, the blurrier the moving object will become. The shorter the shutter is open, the sharper the movement will become.
The sharp, blurless movement is what you see in zombie movies. But unless you are filming a documentary about zombies, that is not what you want. Finally, you can plan ahead to capture footage that you plan to run in slow motion in the final product.
In which case, you will crank up both the frames per second and the shutter speed, which allows for every of your multiple frames to be sharp, as in this footage captured at 32,000 frames per second, or this exploding orange at 62,000 frames per second.
This tattooing footage could easily be part of a documentary. Notice how it takes something common and allows us to see it in a different way. Notice that all this footage was planned.
You do not want to keep your camera at these rates just in case you want to slow-mo it, because the footage at natural speed will look overly sharp.
Remember, as a rule, 24 FPS, shutter speed 50. If you are shooting under fluorescent lights and you find that your footage is picking up a flicker, set your shutter to 100